And then it worked so well that I was saying no to people, just nonstop saying no to people. Like I was like an in-demand software developer or something. It was just nonstop recruiters and business owners reaching out to me. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about how at the age of 26, I went from being basically unemployable to being sought after by the biggest marketing agencies in the world in only like 2 weeks, 2 to 4 weeks, and how anybody can do this. It's through LinkedIn. And a recruiter friend showed me how to use LinkedIn. I put in the changes that she told me, and then I had recruiters at the biggest agencies in the world reaching out to me, as well as business owners. And then I started working at one of these top agencies. I'm going to share that story. Before I tell that story, I want to give some quick shout outs to fans of the pod who have left me very nice messages. These messages keep me going. It's amazing that I'm getting messages like this. This is my 75th episode, and really like these messages mean so much to me. So the first one is from Jaron Boynton on LinkedIn, and he said, I feel like you've really tapped into something great, a tremendous gap in the pre-go-to-market, even like pre-inception advice space. And so then he gave me some of his favorite takeaways from my podcast. He said, putting yourself out there while you're learning, curiosity often being interpreted as expertise. I talk about that a lot. The curious learner bias, that's what I call it. Basically, people see curious learners as experts because curious learners talk about what they're learning all the time, and people misinterpret that as expertise. It's obsession. It's not expertise, but people see that as expertise, and that gets the person, the curious learner, a ton of leverage. Then he said stream of consciousness journaling, he's been doing that. He's been using an app called Spacebar to do that. He's been doing audio journaling. It's super helpful for me. I've talked about that a lot. Human psychology around maintaining a consistent presence. I talk about consistency so much. It really makes such a big difference. I'm consistent with the podcast. That's why I'm seeing results with it. I'm consistent with my videos. That's why I'm seeing results with it. And then this one, oh man, I've learned this one firsthand. And he said, the trap of failing to market test prior to going all in. This isn't my idea. This is from the Lean Startup. But I did a startup one time, and I thought I was doing the Lean Startup method, but I wasn't validating. And we spent a year and a half building, and we didn't validate. And it was a tremendous mistake to not have real validation early on. I got another message from this guy, Fanny Fielding Art on TikTok. He said, I started binge listening your podcasts from the start yesterday. I love what you do. It's so meaningful. If anyone else is like getting a lot out of my shows, please let me know. It really helps me to hear this. And then Dawson Abel on Twitter or on X, he said, your podcast and newsletter, my newsletter is edwardsturm.com/newsletter. He said to me, and you can see this as a public comment, he said, your podcast and newsletter consistently teach me actionable growth hacks, unlike any other business media I consume. And that's really what I want to do with the show. I know a lot of really actionable stuff, crazy growth hacks. And that's what I want to do on the show. Not every episode is going to be about that. I'm going to try to make as many episodes as I can about that. Some episodes are just going to be about my life. This is the Edward Show after all. But what is Edward Sturm most interested in? It's exactly what Dawson Abel described. I'm interested in actionable growth hacks because that's like what I spend a lot of the day doing. That's what I spent the last many years doing. Actionable growth hacks. All right. So on today's episode, I'm going to talk about how I was 25. I never had like a real full-time job. I had a bunch of internships. I didn't have a LinkedIn. No, I was 26. God, I was 26. I was learning search engine optimization, and I was having trouble getting clients. And I was nervous. I was unemployable. And a close friend of mine, her name is Ashley Zernich, and she had started as a recruiter, I think several months before, maybe a year before. And she said, you've had an interesting life so far. And I really had. I was like an early viral video producer on YouTube, and I was working in nightclubs. She's like, you should have a LinkedIn. It'll really help you if you want to get a job. And at that point, I wanted to get a job. And so she showed me how to do my LinkedIn. So on this episode, I'm going to show you how to redo your LinkedIn so that recruiters or interesting people will reach out to you. So this can happen to you too if this is something you want. If you want a job, if you want a good job, or if you want interesting people reaching out to you, because I got so many interesting people reaching out to me on LinkedIn and so many job offers after I did what my recruiter friend showed me, that I think it's worth it for anybody. I think anybody should do this with their LinkedIn. I still do this. I'm not looking for jobs. I still do this with my LinkedIn because interesting people see what you're about and they reach out. So what I'm going to share is super powerful. I love LinkedIn. It's one of my favorite social media platforms. I like knowing the experience that other people have. What have other people done? I like showing off the things that I've done because I've lived a wild life. I've done crazy business endeavors. I've accomplished amazing things, and I get to share that in a way that's not like, it's not flexing. It's just, that's what the platform is for, to share the things that you've done. So I really like LinkedIn for that. It's now, one of my favorite social media platforms. So I'm going to share how I started on LinkedIn and how I literally went in a matter of 2 weeks from like not knowing how I was going to get a job to having recruiters for the best marketing agencies in the world ask me to do search engine optimization at their agencies. And that's what this story is about. So there's 3 stages. There's going to be stage 1 is where I'm overwhelmed and I don't have a LinkedIn. Stage 2 is when I'm redoing the LinkedIn. And then stage 3 is success. So recruiters start reaching out. So stage 1, I'm overwhelmed. I've done all these things. I don't know how to list it. I don't know what words to use, the language to use on LinkedIn. LinkedIn itself is intimidating. I don't even know how to use the platform. And my friend Ashley, my recruiter friend Ashley, she helps me. She shows me, she tells me to use action words. Let me get some examples of action words. Action words, we all know these: spearheaded, achieved, a lot of things that end with ed: created, conceived, recommended, resulted in this. I remember now. She stressed saying your results. She stressed saying not just what you did, but what things resulted in. And she told me this was so important that even at the time, I made up results that I didn't have. I had done it. I had impressive results with some things. Other things like internships, I didn't have many impressive results from the internships. I was just an intern, but I made up the results. So I lied on, number 1, I started lying on my LinkedIn about results that I didn't have. And the lying is going to come up again in this story. Lying is a very powerful thing. I think lying, okay, let me say this. I don't lie to my friends or in relationships or to family. I think lying is really, it erodes who you are. It erodes your integrity. It makes you feel bad. I don't like how I feel when I do it. I'm not a good liar. Gives you more to keep track of in your head, and you get caught up on all these different lies that you've told. So I don't really lie anymore. But with some things like embellishing on LinkedIn, I totally did that. And then when I needed a job, I lied during the interviews on what I was capable of. And I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that experience in a bit. But I want to first explain how to even get the people reaching out to you, because this is I think I was taught this by a recruiter. So I know what recruiters are looking for. And then it worked so well that I was saying no to people, just nonstop saying no to people. I was like an in-demand software developer or something. It was just nonstop recruiters and business owners reaching out to me. Okay, so she showed me around LinkedIn. She showed me action words to use. I'm basically I'm with this episode, with episode 75 of The Edward Show. I am basically my recruiter friend was to me. I am this to you. So if you need a LinkedIn revamp, that is what I'm here to do right now. Or if you need a LinkedIn at all, that is what this episode is here for. I think it can really just give you, especially if you're combining this with the other growth hacks that I've talked about, where you reach out to people, where you do cold reach out to people, this can be really powerful. I talked about a recent one where you can take over different meetups and then leverage that to get meetings with anybody. And so if you have a fleshed out LinkedIn, if you have a good LinkedIn, this will help you a lot landing those meetings. People look you up. People use LinkedIn all the time to look me up. People look other people up all the time. All right. So that was stage 1, was my friend showed me around LinkedIn, taught me action words, taught me how to format certain stuff. And I'll talk about the formatting in a little bit. Stage 2 is I'm actually putting that into practice. I spent 3 days. I spent 3 days just all the time, every day, all day, creating my LinkedIn. I spent 3 days because I had done a lot. I'd made all these videos at this point, and I had a lot of experience in my life, and I'd done all these internships, and I wanted to put them all down. And I was consulting. I was consulting. I wanted to put them all down. And so here is the main trick. I'm going to tell you right now, this is the main trick to LinkedIn. The main trick to LinkedIn is to figure out what you are trying to do. I just met with my friend Vivi. She wants to be a creative director. So let's say she wants to be a creative director in advertising. So in my case, I put as my headline, search engine optimization. I put search engine optimization, video production, media management. That was what I had done, but actually I could have been more specific. I should have just put search engine optimization. My friend Vivi, she would put creative director for advertising. And then you jam pack so you put your main profession. I'm telling you this because basically LinkedIn is a search engine, and recruiters and people, they use LinkedIn to find other people. And so in typical search engine optimization, there's this concept of keyword stuffing. If you use your keyword, if you use like what it is you are trying to show up for too many times on a page, that will be seen as spammy. Search engines like Google, they don't like that. LinkedIn, very different. There is no keyword spamming on LinkedIn. You can and should use your keyword all over the place. What it is you are trying to show up for, your profession, your niche, you should use that all over your LinkedIn. And so that's what I did. That's what my recruiter friend taught me to do. And so I put search engine optimization. I was trying to get a search engine optimization job. I put that in my header. Then in the description, I say like 10 plus years. I'm going to actually read to you my description. 10 plus years in media with extensive expertise in SEO and video production, extremely passionate about generating publicity, optimizing search engine results, and gaining influencer recognition for clients. Website layout, technical SEO implementation, keyword usage, content creation, and outreach strategies are some of my favorite projects to work on. I basically jam-pack that with keywords that are important to search engine optimization. So somebody might be searching for a specific aspect of search engine optimization, I would show up. Then I put bullets. This was very important. My friend Ashley, she stressed putting bullets of achievements in your about. So then I said like 100 plus million views with viral videos, images, SEO consulting for companies such as big companies, monthly in-person digital marketing class with 70 to 100 attendees per class. And then media, what year is this? Oh crap. This was after. I think this was 2018. This is after. Okay. This is actually a little bit, that makes sense. That's why this is more accomplished. This was in 2018. That job was at the end of 2016 So this isn't even my like OG one. So my OG one was much heavier with just pure SEO. It was much heavier with just pure search engine optimization. So I actually can give you some specific examples. You can even see these. If you go to my LinkedIn, Edward Sturm on LinkedIn, feel free to add me. I put in my about section, specialties, organics. This is so funny. These are all SEO keywords, and I just jam them in, specialties. And I put this in my about like summary section, which is very important to do. You want like the closer something is to the top of the page, the more search engines in general value it. And it's the same with LinkedIn. So you put in your keywords in your summary about section. People know what you're about, but the LinkedIn search engine knows what you're about, and people will find you. Specialties, organic search strategy, SEO technical implementation, information architecture, content distribution, video production. And then now I talk about like the other stuff. Team leadership. I put in team leadership. That's right. Yeah, because I wanted to look more impressive to the recruiters. Team leadership, web trends. And then I listed tools. Omniture, Google Search Console, BrightEdge, Moz Pro, like I listed all these tools. And then in my experience, in the experience section, that's when you actually list your positions. So I have like a system that I use, and my friend taught me this, is for like the accomplishments, you use bullet points. And then for the specialties, this is in the summary, it's a little bit different. I'm going to tell you exactly how I do it. In the summary for the accomplishments, I use bullet points. Above that is I give like my 10 plus years in media part. Then specialties below that, that's just all listed in a big paragraph, a thick, big paragraph. And then experience is just basically all bullet points. So for SEO consulting, I say like, I literally just stuff it with SEO keywords because this makes me show up more. Technical on-site audits leading to optimization of meta tags, semantic tagging, pagination, taxonomy, removal of server errors and duplicate content, information architecture, breadcrumbs, UX, UI, and crawlability. It just goes on. It is so thick. It is so thick with SEO keywords, with SEO with things that you do in search engine optimization. And this helped me so much. And then I filled out the rest of my LinkedIn to show the rest of my experience. I thought it was very important. It makes me look like a real person, an experienced person who's done all these different things. Now, let me tell you what happened when I did this. I spent 3 days doing this, and I think it was literally within a week that a recruiter at one of the top of doing this, that a recruiter at one of the top search, like performance marketing agencies. So performance marketing, that's search engine optimization, that's PPC, that's paid media, that's paid social. But when I say a top agency, these are agencies that's doing these things for the biggest companies in the world. You know, the McDonald's, the Coca-Colas, like big healthcare companies, like the biggest companies in the world. So I had this one company, huge company, reach out to me, and it was a recruiter. Talked to the recruiter. Recruiter's like, "You sound great," because I was very enthusiastic and I knew a decent amount, or at least I thought I did. And then I go into the interview. With this big agency. This is like 2 weeks after redoing, 2 or 3 weeks after redoing my LinkedIn. After making the LinkedIn. And I go in and I'm a little bit nervous. And I bring this briefcase that my dad had, that my dad would bring into his office because I like the image of carrying around a briefcase. And I brought in this briefcase and I bombed. I thought I did a good job, but they told me afterwards I didn't get the position because it was very clear that I wasn't experienced enough. And I really wasn't. I realized that when I started at the next company that I wasn't experienced enough. So, but it was okay because I think a week or two after that, another recruiter from a huge agency reached out to me. And again, like really huge agency. And so I do well with the recruiter, and the recruiter, then I talk to some people at the company on the phone, and then they bring me in for an interview. And let me tell you this. So now we're in stage 3. So we're in stage 3 where the recruiters are reaching out and I'm going on these interviews. So the recruiter reached out. I had my first interview and I messed it up. And here's what I did after. This is so funny. I literally I thought about all the questions that I hesitated on, that I wasn't sure about the answers. And I listened to the feedback that they gave me when they rejected me. And I didn't have enough time to learn all of the skills that I was inexperienced with. So I just learned enough to like make it. I learned some basic like keywords for those skills, little components that made up the skills, but I didn't actually know what they meant on the outside. I didn't even I thought I knew search engine optimization. I didn't even really know how to use spreadsheets. And I go into this next interview and I just say, yeah, I use spreadsheets all the time. I use these tools. I use Screaming Frog to crawl sites. I had gotten Screaming Frog the day before and was trying to understand it. I didn't know how to use Screaming Frog at the time. I didn't know how to do any of this stuff, but I knew what to say from the previous interview. And I just learned. Yeah, I lied about all the things that I did wrong in the previous interview. And then I got that position and it was great. In short, when I started at the first, in short, one guy, so I tell the story in full. If you want to hear this, it's a really good story. I tell it in full in an episode that I recently recorded, episode 71. And the episode is named Obsessive People versus Non-Obsessive People. But in short, what happened was I started and it was very clear that I was lying, that I was the most inexperienced person at the company. There was one guy who could tell that I was lying. Out of the 3 people who interviewed me, there was one guy who could tell that I was lying. He said, "Don't hire this guy." The other 2 liked me and they hired me anyway. Then the other 2 I thought were like weak because when I got to the company, I was very insecure. And so whereas like everybody else at the company was going and getting drunk after work and hanging out and Netflixing and chilling, I was going home and learning SEO and staying at the office and using the trainings that the company was giving to like get better. And within 3 months, I was a second best one at the company. The only person who was better was a guy who knew that I was lying. And he quickly became a good friend of mine because he was the only one who was serious about search engine optimization. So he was a mentor and a friend. And then within another 3 months, I was the best one at the company at search engine optimization because I didn't stop at being like second best. I just kept on learning and putting my learnings into my own website, into my own work. And then I had like all these clients myself. My name was traveling around New York as a good search engine optimization person. And I really was taking it so seriously. And after like 6 months, I was the best one at the company, and I felt like I wasn't growing within SEO. And so even though 6 months before, I lied my butt off, within 6 months, I was the best. That the only person there who who was like almost on my level, and he was my mentor, he ended up becoming, I call him the king of SEO, because he ended up becoming head of SEO at the most valuable marketing agency on the planet in terms of market cap, publicly traded company. And it's the most valuable agency. And he was head of SEO there. So yeah, and we're still friends. We talked just last week, actually. So that's the story. If you want to have recruiters reaching out to you, if you want to have heads of companies reaching out to you, impressive, accomplished people reaching out to you on LinkedIn, you should optimize your LinkedIn for what it is that you do, and also put in all of your accomplishments, especially using bullets, and put in everything that you do with bullets, use bullet points. You can literally go to my LinkedIn, Edward Sturm, and copy my format. I put a lot of work into my LinkedIn over the last many years, and I think it shows with my LinkedIn, so you can look at it. And don't be afraid to embellish. For real, as long as you can talk about it in a convincing enough way, don't be afraid to embellish. I literally, when I was going in for interviews, I spent days memorizing lies and backstories to those lies. That's why I don't lie anymore. It's freaking exhausting. I don't like to lie like that. It is exhausting to keep up those lies. But I knew that once I got a job at one of these companies, I would take it very seriously and I wouldn't let people down. And I didn't, because I got so good so fast, to the point of when I was leaving, they asked me several times to stay, because I had gotten so valuable so fast. So yeah, that episode, like, I talk about being obsessive versus not being obsessive, because when I do something, I'm obsessive about it. I think this podcast is great. And I agree with the people who gave me really amazing feedback, which I shared at the beginning of the podcast. And the reason that I agree with them is because I am obsessive about learning incredible growth hacks and actionable things that people can do to get more visibility. I am obsessed about that. And I put in crazy amounts of time and effort at, honestly, the sacrifice of a lot of relationships to learn this stuff. It's fun for me. It's like a video game for me. When I learn these things and I can stack them on top of each other, it's like in a JRPG, in a Japanese role-playing game, and you learn a new skill, and then you combine that with an old skill, and you get a new weapon, and it makes you stronger and stronger and stronger, and you fight stronger bosses who give you more experience. And it's like those first little battles were the hardest, and now you're just going through the bosses so fast, and that's what life feels like. That's how I see life. And so this LinkedIn trick, or LinkedIn like optimization hack, whatever, it's just one aspect of the role-playing game nature that I see life in. Anyway, this is episode 75 of The Edward Show. I think it's turned out to be a pretty good episode. Very actionable. Sorry if I nerded out like really hard on keywords and all this stuff, but I hope I bring value to anybody who's listening. It's, today was a good day. I met up with two friends from Budapest. I met one friend in Rome, and then I met another friend here. She's like a pretty well-known tennis player from Budapest, and I met her here. And the other guy, I met him in Rome, but he was from Budapest as well. And then we all had coffee, and it was really nice. And I had to leave. To come home to make this episode. And I'm going to make a TikTok after this, because I know, like, oh man, okay, I said I wasn't going to get into this, but now I'm in the zone. Okay, I want to read to you. Mr. Beast put up, Mr. Beast, the most popular YouTuber, and might even be the most popular TikToker. He put up an incredible tweet, or post, whatever, and I reposted it, retweeted it, and I want to share it, and then I'm going to end the show. He said, here's how subscribers to my channel has, he had a typo. He said, here's how many subscribers my channel has had every year on my birthday. So 12 years old, he had 1 subscriber. 13, 1 year passed, he had 10 subscribers. 14, 25, 15, 76, 16, 1,003, 17, almost 2,000, 18, he had 28,000, almost 29,000 subscribers. And then a huge jump from 18 to 19, he was over 1 million. Then 19 to 20, over 4.5 million. 20 to 21, 18 million. 22, 34 million. 23, 61 million. 24, 94 million. 25, 151 million. And now he's almost 26, 184 million. And yeah, that's why I make these things every day, because I understand that the consistency compounds. I understand that this effort compounds. And I love Mr. Beast, because you can go back and see his old videos and they're so bad. I'm lucky. I'm somewhat naturally gifted with making videos. I was going viral early on. I didn't know how to use TikTok when I started, but I learned pretty fast. And I went viral after 2 or 3 months of making videos every day. And yeah, so I just understand consistency compounds. All right. Episode 75 of The Edward Show. Thank you so much for listening. I will talk to all of you again tomorrow. Bye now.